Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Donald Trump gets booed at a stadium on Sunday. He wants to name a stadium after himself. Trump wants to give you a bunch of cash. I think he should shut down the IRS instead. Ghislaine Maxwell having a big old party and asking for a pardon. Bunch of other people got pardons. Trump criticized Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene. He's been attacking Rand Paul, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and many others. Shame on the Donald for attacking those who stand with the Constitution. Christine Pelosi wants to get in the mix. Who's that? Nancy's daughter. Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett thinks the Republicans might cheat with Dominion voting machines. South Park creators are having a great day with Donald Trump mocking the president. They'll probably get sued. The U.S. Army-owned facility has all kinds of ammunition that's ended up in crimes. U.S. intelligence reveals that Israeli military lawyers, well, they're not doing what they're supposed to do. They're literally attacking people all over the world, and now they got caught doing it. Welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sam Bushman. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use starts now. This is the broadcast for November the 11th in the year of our Lord 2025, promoting God, family, country, protecting life, liberty, and property, doing so in the traditions of our founding fathers on your radio and TV, and best of all, restoring the republic. If it's Jesus revolution, a peaceful revolution, we're in. Standard revolution, most of the time the world history shows it's a failure, so we're out. Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I do have good news to start out, though. The best news of all is that it's Veterans Day, isn't it? I think so. Kind of weird. I usually think those things are on Mondays or Fridays or whatever, but Tuesday, Veterans Day. Anyway, happy Veterans Day to all of you. And a prayer goes out to all those who have served and all those who will serve in the military. We're grateful for your service. Nevertheless, even though you feel betrayed 9 times out of 10 by your government when you go to war, we're still grateful for your service, and it's not your fault. Welcome to the show. The good Sheriff Richard Mack with me, CSPOA.org. That's the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association, creating partnerships with the American people and sheriffs to stand for the rule of law in America today. Sheriff, welcome back, sir.
Well, thanks a lot, Sam. It's great to be with you this beautiful Tuesday Veterans Day morning. And I was going to mention Veterans Day also. My uncle served in World War II. My dad served in World War II. And do you want to know what my dad was in World War II?
A pilot?
He was in well, that's close. He worked for the Army Air Corps.
All right.
But he was the best typist the Army had anywhere. And so the entire time during World War II, he served in the office because he was the best typist. And so as soon as he got home, he went to school to go to the FBI. And then he totally served the federal government for about 35 years. And as soon as he retired, about a year and a half later, the IRS audited him. And his view of the government changed immensely because he saw how dishonest they were. And I will echo what you said earlier. President Trump, please abolish the Federal Reserve and its collection agency, the IRS. And Sam, the bottom line with that is freedom and the IRS cannot coexist. And the bottom line of that is freedom has been the victim of the IRS.
Well, I don't really understand all this. There's so much in the news that goes on. It's so hard to know how to track this. You know, people are mixed on President Trump and what he's been doing. There's a lot that he does that I really, really appreciate and really am grateful for. There's a lot that he does that gives rise for concern, to say the least. And part of the problem that I have with President Trump is it seems like everything is about Donald. I mean, you can't even go to a Charlie Kirk funeral without Donald just turning it into political prose, touting himself. And at some point, it's like, stop. We don't have a king. We don't have a monarch. You're a president, which means you're the servant of all of us. You know, just imagine if President Trump got up and said, I'm grateful to be your servant. I'm the servant of every one of you. I'm kind of the lowest servant. I'll do my very best for you that I get. Just imagine a speech like that. You're not going to get it. He actually went to a football game on Sunday. Donald Trump got booed and cheered, but the boos were about twice the cheers at Commanders Lions game. Okay, there's a video that we can watch about it in just a second. Donald performed what they call an enlistment ceremony. I guess it's for new members of the military. He did that when there was a pause in the game. He read from a black binder, speaking into a microphone. He could barely be heard because of the, booze and all that kind of stuff. Of course, House Speaker Mike Johnson, instead of being in Congress doing the people's work, he was hanging out at the game on Sunday right on Donald's coattails. And Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was there too. The president was booed literally nonstop for over 2 minutes. Watch this, then we'll talk about it. All right, let's go ahead and cut it. That's what you see, ladies and gentlemen. It goes on for 2.5 minutes. He tries to read. It's hard to hear him. He pauses. It's just horrible. And this is what I mean. Everything does not have to be about Donald. I don't want to hear about the military going to unconstitutional foreign wars all across the land. I don't want to hear about the military not getting pay while Donald and Michael hang out at a football game. And then it gets worse because then Donald Trump, he promotes his role in building the Commander's new stadium, which he wants named after him. You think we ought to name the stadium after him? I don't know what the president would have a role in building the stadium for in the first place, but then it's all about the Donald, and we're going to name the stadium after him. So it's like Donald Trump's. I think we ought to just name this instead of Liberty Roundtable. I think we ought to just call it Trump on Air. Trump takes to the airwaves, and we just name everything. I changed my name to Sam Trump. And you could change your name to Sheriff Trump. What do you think? Everything should just be Trump. I know it sounds absurd, but isn't that what it kind of seems to be? When is it not about Donald? Can we have anything not about Donald? It's just weird to me.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I gotta just name all your children Donald.
Well, George Foreman named every one of his sons George.
I know.
They were all George.
And it was crazy ego at the center of that too.
I don't know.
That is my quintessential point.
I don't know why George did it. I never got to ask him why, but those kind of things happen. And George became a pastor, and I thought he was still a pretty humble guy. So I don't know why he named all his sons George, but anyway,
we're talking about the president of the United States who swore an oath to the supreme law of the land, who's been literally starting to violate it at every turn.
He was just quoting his oath. I think that's great that he was quoting his oath.
He's getting booed because he doesn't obey his oath. He's quoting it, but he doesn't obey it. See, that's the problem. Let's just start with taking out all these drug boats or whatever.
Those people in that stadium don't know that politicians don't keep their oath. They have no clue whatsoever about that.
They just know that they have seen in the news about Donald Trump being a kingmaker, and they're booing him for it, right?
Well, that's a leftist talking point that I will not join in on.
What's the leftist talking point?
He's not. If he was a king, he would not be allowing those protests against his kingship. And I think it's really hypocritical and ironic that they're saying we're marching against the king and about king makers, and he's allowing them to do it. So
yeah,
I mean
that is ironic. I don't know if he's allowing him to do it or if he's been shut down by the courts too many times to stop them. At this point, I'm not quite sure.
No, that's it. Of course, he's not allowing them. He didn't care if they did it one way or the other. But no, I think it's gone too far. And this is what I would respond about the booing. People have a short memory because just a year ago they were under the presidency of Joe Biden, who is probably the worst president in history. And I agree with President Trump on that. What he did to this country and what he did to the safety and security and sovereignty of this nation will take decades to repair.
let's talk about. You're right about Joe Biden and his abuse of the country, but let's talk about what Trump's doing right now, though, around the world. He's bombing countries. He's literally attacking and sinking boats in foreign waters without any congressional authority.
All right, and
he doesn't have authority to do that. It's war crimes.
First of all, if they're designated as terrorists and they're sending in
hold on. There's no such thing in the Constitution as a terrorist. That's a way to circumvent the Constitution. Let's come back and talk about it. Let's come back and talk about it, because the Constitution lays out who's responsible for these things. It's Congress for marking reprisal and declarations of war and funding such actions. The president's acting without Congress. They're sitting at home twiddling their thumbs. Hang tight. Sheriff Mack and yours truly.
Abby Johnson was once director of a Planned Parenthood clinic in Bryan, Texas. After a moral crisis, she quit, and now she campaigns against what she once endorsed.
They implement abortion quotas in all of their clinics.
What do you mean quotas?
You have to perform a certain number of abortions every month. One of the reasons that I left...
Are they explicit about that?
Yes. It's in your budget, right there on the line item. One of the reasons I left Planned Parenthood was because in a budget meeting I was told to double that abortion quota. And for me, as someone who had spoken to the media and had said, you know, we're about reducing the number of abortions, we're about, you know, prevention, all of these other services, I was shocked to hear this.
So since you actually worked at a Planned Parenthood, give us some sense of the relative number of abortions.
Okay, abortions, Planned Parenthood provides over 330,000 abortions a year. They are the largest single abortion provider in our country.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at CSPOA.org. That's CSPOA.org.
All right, Sheriff Richard Mack with me, ladies and gentlemen, CSPOA.org, and we're having a conversation about President Trump. And the problem is, I don't want to turn this into, hey, Mack defends Trump and Sam bashes President Trump, because I think a lot of what President Trump has done is really good. And I can go through a list of a lot of those things, too. But I cannot excuse some of the things that he's doing is the problem. And I believe that a lot of the conservatives are ignoring some of these things. So is it right that Trump stops drug boats coming to the United States? Absolutely, it's right. Is it right for President Trump around the world to advocate for liberty? Of course it's right. The president is supposed to deal with foreign affairs as the states are to deal with domestic affairs. That's all true and good. The problem is Trump is acting without any authority from Congress. And clearly it's congressional responsibility that we're discussing. We delegated war powers, the funding of wars and everything else to the House. And most importantly, mark and reprisal and everything else that deals with that is all in congressional hands, and Congress has done nothing to support Trump in this. He's just done it unilaterally. Now, modern day people would say, oh, we gave the president that power with Emergency Powers Acts and everything else. They don't have authority to delegate the authority we gave them. Okay, they can act on their authority, but they can't delegate it to somebody else, which they've done. So I blame Congress just as much as the president here, but he's out of line. He's not following the Constitution, Sheriff.
And there's probably some legitimacy to what you're saying. I won't deny that. But if we're going to really criticize those who do not follow the Constitution in Washington D.C., that would take probably about the next 20 shows, and
You're right about that.
2 hours each one every time, and we could go through that and list all the list. Look, and I don't condone it because we simply have gotten so far off the constitutional path that was established by our founders. Look, the federal government has only discrete enumerated powers. That was reinforced by my Supreme Court decision. And look how many people don't want to even read or know about my Supreme Court case. You
Amen.
know, and that's not just the federal government.
Trump
that's
should be using your
state.
President Trump should be using your Supreme Court case to push 90% of these discussion points to the states, and he should simply stay out of it because he doesn't have any authority delegated to him in these realms at all. But he's not doing that. See.
Well, correct, but does he have the authority to go into the states when they refuse to do their jobs? And I believe he does.
It depends on the topic.
Yeah, well, it does, but peace and safety and law and order, if the mayors and chiefs of police and sheriffs there are going to ignore the crimes and the murders, then the different governments will control each other.
That's right.
Just as JFK did, just as, and several others before.
And I agree
Trump.
with that. So when President Trump goes in the 10 mile square to keep law and order, and when he goes into certain states to do so, especially the states that have invited him, like Tennessee, I think it's a great thing and necessary. I think it's also a great thing when President Trump wants to deal with immigration. He's done a tremendous job on the border. Latest headline talks about reverse migration surges as U.S. crackdown sends thousands back south. Basically, a striking new migration trend is unfolding, ladies and gentlemen. Thousands of migrants, mainly Venezuelans, are leaving the United States and headed south.
That's amazing.
Okay. They say, hey, most of them are going back to South America. They say between January and September 2025, over 18,000 migrants traveled from Panama back to Colombia, while crossings to the dangerous Darien Strait or whatever is reduced by 98%. They say now, as you know, Joe Biden flew illegals into the country, all over the country. President Trump is doing the opposite. Right. Headline says, Migration 2025. President Trump has what are called deportation flights from the U.S. to Mexico. It's ramped up big time, those flights. And they say daily crossings have dropped from over 1,000 to fewer than 50. Anyway, it goes on and on. But I'm telling you, so I'm not all negative on Trump. He's doing a lot of good things. He's more pro-life, even though he's not perfect, than any president we've had in modern history. They've at least stopped the Planned Parenthood for a year. I would like more, but they've done that. President Trump has done a lot of real good things. He's exposed the media for who they are. He's really doubled down on so many good things. But you can't excuse his violations of the Constitution. For example, why have we spent the last 11 months where Congress has been sitting at home for at least 2 of those months or more? They've literally done nothing to support President Trump in his actions. But rather than attacking, Mike Johnson or attacking, the Congress as a whole, he literally wants to single out Rand Paul and attack Rand Paul. He wants to single out Green and attack Green. He wants to single out Massey and attack Massey and suggest that he's going to push for those guys to lose their next election cycle. These kind of stuff, it's just unacceptable. Anybody that says anything about Trump, he wants to double down on loyalty. But what about his loyalty to the supreme law of the land and to we the people and to keep his promise? Where are the Jeffrey Epstein files, for instance? If you speak out and say you want to see the Jeffrey Epstein files, he tells you that you're basically a bad guy. You're evil. You've fallen for the lie of the Democrats, right? This kind of stuff. And so we've got to start to push back. And hopefully he's humble enough to accept guidance from the people he works for.
Well, I would say the bottom line is the greatest threat to our country is not Donald Trump. The greatest threat,
100%.
And I know you feel that way. But the greatest threat to America is the enemy from within. And first of all, that would be our own government officials who are so corrupt that you can't even imagine how corrupt things are in Washington, D.C. and the deep state and those who really wag the dog in the world. And you have so many, in fact, Biden was saying, oh, yeah, great. We've got a new world order, Does everybody know what the New World Order is? It's anti-American and it's destruction of America. Also, I want to make sure that people understand where the threat really came in, and that is across the border during the 4 years of Biden. The international terrorist groups came in, Hamas, ISIS, Al Qaeda, they're all here. They've come in enough to where they're actually electing their own extremists, Muslims, to public office in city councils, in states, and in the United States Congress. And they're taking over from within, and they're going to attack us, and they're going to attack the infrastructure. And this is all documented that this is their plan. And that all was facilitated by the President of the United States, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their administration. And this is why America is in such a perilous time and precarious situation right now. It's because of them.
And I think there's some truth to that. But see, you overlook the Republican side in this. They've literally done nothing to stop this. They could have basically removed Joe Biden for dereliction of duty. They could have called people. They're not even prosecuting any of these people that caused these problems.
Of course, you and I have said that before. But I'll say this, though, too. I have badmouthed Tom Massey on this program before, and I've done that with Rand Paul, and I've done it with Ron Paul. And
it's okay. It's okay in my mind to have a difference with a conservative. You and I might not agree on everything. It's okay to disagree. My problem is, though, you're going to spend your time literally targeting Thomas Massey for removal.
No,
that's what Trump is doing, right?
And he really ticked me off because I think one of the worst things, the most corrupt things that this government has done is put innocent people in prison. And you and I both agree on that.
Amen.
And the two worst that did nothing about it, Sam Girard is from Kentucky, and so is Tom Massey, and so is Rand Paul. And Rand Paul, I spent a lot of time with him and his staff to try to do something for him. I also spent a lot of time with Senator John McCain, and he lied about it, and he lied to me directly to my face. And I went to Washington, D.C., as you will well remember, and I lobbied, and I went to office, and I remember I shouldn't have worn my boots, but I wanted to have my presentation look like Sheriff Mack. So I kept my boots on all day long, going to all those offices. I went to over 90 different offices, and Rand Paul was the worst one.
Yeah,
and
I don't disagree.
Tom Massey was even close to it.
And we should criticize that and speak out against that. I agree 100%.
Absolutely.
At the same time,
Neither
though,
one of them did anything.
But at the same time, I don't think we should remove those guys from office because the egregious behavior of the others day in and day out is much worse. That's my point, is that, hey, if we remove Thomas Massey and Rand Paul from the House and the Senate respectively, I don't think we're going to be any better off. We're going to be worse off.
I still say fire all of them. I still say it.
Well, I agree with that.
And I say fire every one of them. Massey, Rand, start over. Maybe we'd end up worse. I don't know, but I don't see how it could be. But the people aren't in charge anymore, and we're supposed to be. And government has taken over.
I agree with that.
Has stolen our stewardship.
So I want Trump to abolish the Federal Reserve, not tamper with interest rates. I want Trump to shut down the IRS. Now, I support Trump on tariffs because I think tariffs are constitutional. But again, he can't act unilaterally without Congress. It's Congress's responsibility to deal with tariffs. They're sitting at home. Why aren't we talking about Mike Johnson? Get your derriere back in there, my friend. But now Trump wants to have a plan to distribute $2,000 rebate checks. It could cost $600 billion annually. We don't even get that much from tariffs, but we're $38 trillion. I don't think he has any business writing me a check to make himself look good. That is the redistribution of wealth, and it needs to stop. There's a committee for responsible federal budget. They released the details about this. And all I'm telling you is, why are we talking about writing checks to people in redistribution of wealth when we can't even keep SNAP open, for crying out loud? Ladies and gentlemen, we've got to focus on the supreme law of the land, and we better get back to it quicker. We're going to lose our country, is my whole point. Hang tight. Sheriff Mack and yours truly continue in seconds. You're watching and listening to Liberty RoundTable Live.
Exposing corruption, informing citizens, pursuing liberty. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Senate Majority Leader John Thune calls it a very long road. The Senate has sent the House a bill that would end the government shutdown.
The shutdown could continue for a few more days as members of the House, who have been on recess since mid-September, return to Washington to vote on the legislation.
We look forward to the government reopening this week so Congress can get back to our regular legislative session.
The legislative package that appears on track to end the shutdown leaves out any clear resolution on the expiring Affordable Care Act tax credits. Mike Hemp in Washington.
And the lack of a deal on Obamacare subsidies has many Senate Democrats fuming, suggesting that Chuck Schumer's days as minority leader are numbered. As for the Republican leadership's handling of the shutdown drama,
what we saw here was steady Republican leadership. Thune did not blink. Mike Johnson did not blink.
GOP strategist Aaron McGuire on the Salem Radio Network. The House could take up the end the shutdown legislation tomorrow. In the meantime, air travel, well, that still remains challenging. Across parts of the Midwest and the Great Lakes, they've had to break out the shovels and the snow blowers. First big snow of the season, a lot of it lake effect. Chicagoland has been hard hit with trees and power lines brought down. Many accidents on the roads and air travel impacted, and cold Arctic air extends as far south as Florida. The FDA will remove a long-standing warning from hormone-based drugs used to treat menopause symptoms in women. FDA Commissioner Marty McCary and some other doctors criticize the current warning label as outdated and unnecessary. Stocks are mixed on Wall Street this hour. The Dow trading about 95 points higher, while the Nasdaq is down 83 points, and the S&P 8 points in the red. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, it's Mike Gallagher, host of The Mike Gallagher Show. I don't mess around when it comes to saving you money. Right now, rates have dropped to the lowest level in over a year and a half. That means if you bought your home or refinanced in the last 3 years, you could be saving hundreds of dollars every month. Lower your rate, lower your monthly payment, even kick that pesky PMI to the curb. And get this, you can skip 2 full months of mortgage payments. But that's not all. Fellowship Home Loans just rolled out something incredible. Their very own HELOC and lines of credit. Approval in just 5 minutes. Money in your account in as little as 4 days. It's the easiest system you've ever used. You can do it yourself online. Whether you want to pay off bills, tackle a home project, cover education, or even a wedding, Fellowship Home Loans makes it simple to leverage the money that's already sitting in your house. Just go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending guided by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
Get ready to be part of something incredible. We're breaking barriers and delivering the powerful stories that mainstream media won't touch. Your support is what fuels our mission to revolutionize journalism and bring you the truth. Join our passionate community of changemakers by donating at libertynewsradio.com today. Together, we're creating the future of news.
Do you know what is great about America? Ask an Immigrant. Ask an Immigrant is a new podcast dedicated to helping Americans, especially our youth, value, appreciate, and be grateful for the freedoms we have here in America. Join host Lydia Wallace-Nuttall as she interviews immigrants from around the world to discover their inspiring personal stories about why they came to America. To learn more about why America is the most prosperous, greatest country in the world, download the Loving Liberty app or go to lovingliberty.net.
As a parent, is receiving a faith-based, character-focused education for your children difficult to find? Do you believe that godly principles should be a central component in your child's education? Imagine a school where faith and integrity are at its center, where heritage and responsibility instill character. For over 40 years, American Heritage School has been educating both hearts and minds, bringing out academic excellence. This is the school where character and embracing the providence of a living God are fundamental, where students' national test scores average near the 90th percentile. With American Heritage School's Advanced Distance Education Program, distance is no longer an issue. With an accredited LDS-oriented curriculum from kindergarten through 12th grade, your children can attend from anywhere in the world. American Heritage School will prepare your child for more than a job. It will prepare them for life. To learn more, visit american-heritage.org. That's american-heritage.org.
All right, broadcasting live from the self-appointed Donald Trump studios, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sam Bushman, along with the good Sheriff Richard Mack, CSPOA.org. Yeah, we're going to name everything after the Donald, even our studios, ladies and gentlemen. He might sue me, but it's self-appointed. I can do that. I'm also a self-appointed Trump advisor, as you well know. So, Trump, listen to my advice. Buddy, you need to abolish. Seize the opportunity, my friend. Seize the day, as they say. Abolish the criminal IRS immediately. But no, instead, what Donald Trump wants to do is he wants to go ahead and name a stadium after him. And then he has a plan to just pass out $2,000 stimulus checks. Used to be a bigger number. Now it's down to $2,000 a piece. And they say that it would cost $600 billion annually. That's double the amount we are supposed to receive from tariffs, $300 billion annually. I don't know how that's all going to work, except for to put us in more debt. We're already 38+ trillion in debt, and we're debating whether we like somebody on the Federal Reserve Board rather than shutting down the criminal organization called the Federal Reserve in the first place. Now, the Supreme Court heard arguments on the legality of Trump's, quote, emergency tariffs, with skepticism from both liberal and conservative judges. Approval from Congress, by the way, would be required for the rebate checks to be implemented. Do you support a rebate check, Sheriff?
No, not really.
Okay.
Obviously, they happened during COVID, and you and I both received checks, and we both took them. But
not because we wanted to. I was afraid if I didn't take it later, they might somehow cost me a bunch of money, and then I'd have to pay out of my own pocket. So I took it in hopes that if they change their mind, I'd pay them back their own money. You know.
Obviously, if they're sending back some of our stolen tax dollars, I would take it. But as far as proper use of money right now, the national debt seems to be ignored by the politicians who created this catastrophe waiting to happen. So we have two really horribly serious catastrophes waiting to happen, and that's the strikes at our infrastructure from the terrorist groups who have infiltrated America, and the other one is the national debt that is going to destroy our dollar and destroy our economy, and every day that gets more imminent. So there's no question about that.
And maybe Mike Johnson ought to spend time doing that rather than hanging out at a football game. Now he can't even get back to vote to open the government because they're all sitting at home. Now they're struggling to even get back, Sheriff.
I don't agree with that. Sunday is the day that people have off. They're going to go and do other things. People go to games. People go golfing.
I thought they were voting. I thought they were voting in the Senate to open government, Sheriff. Weren't they doing that? What if the House? Hold on. What if the House was ready at the same time the Senate passed it, and the House passed it too, and the government was open now?
Oh, I'd be thrilled with that. And if they were busy doing something on Sunday to help our country, I'd be telling them, yes, go for it. They're the ones that create these catastrophes, and then go to a ball game. But at the same time, that's a Sunday afternoon activity. They do it, and we go to church. And some of us go home and watch the game on TV. That part being Sunday doesn't really bother me. Their day in and day out corruption, that bothers me.
Well, they're sitting at home bothers me because now they're struggling to get back to even vote, and the government stays closed because they all went home while they're getting paid by me, right?
Well, exactly. And of course they're getting paid, and that needs to stop. We wouldn't have any shutdowns.
There was a guy who tried to put that in place to stop it, and he got thumped. So there you go.
But at the same time, there's no one talking about this. And it's a very valid point, and it's a constitutional point. Who in the world put them in charge of our sky? Who in the world put them in charge of our airlines, the airline traffic? That's a responsibility of the airlines, not the federal government.
That's right.
They have no business taking over that. And
that's right.
Oh yeah, we're going to run everything.
But Republicans and Democrats are equally guilty in that, right?
Who?
The Republicans and Democrats are equally guilty.
Of course they are. Of course. And
in fact, I think parties being involved, private parties being involved in elections, is fraud in and of itself.
Well, yeah, no kidding.
Otherwise, why can't I start a party with equal footing on their parties?
But you can start a party anytime you want.
Not with equal footing. Not with my fair share of the handouts, my fair share of the special privilege. They've got all kinds of laws to lock me or any other party out.
Of course, and both parties have done that. I've run before for federal office as a libertarian, and it's a joke because the media and the two major parties will not allow third parties to break in.
That's right.
And only does a billionaire by the name of Ross Perot broke into it a little bit because he has what you said. He has equal footing because he had the billions himself to do it.
Yeah, which is kind of how Donald got elected too and all that other kind of stuff. Anyway, my problem is the blame game the Republicans and Democrats have played on this shutdown. They've tried to own it and spank the other party at the expense of the American people while they all got paid to do it. Shame on them. Now they're going to basically treat Ghislaine Maxwell with kid gloves. We should be getting the Epstein files, but Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted of sex trafficking back in 2021, sentenced to 20 years in prison, I might add. I guess she's receiving special privileges in a Texas prison now. That's according to Maryland Rep. Jamie Raskin. Maxwell was moved to this, quote, lower security prison after an interview with the Department of Justice in July. And now she has, special custom meals, time with her puppy. Raskin, the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee, noted that Maxwell is now working on a plan. They call it a computation application to go ahead and see if she can get pardoned. She wants to get a pardon from Donald. And anyway, the bottom line is, hey, they want to find out what did Tom Blanche do when he met with Ghislaine. He was the Deputy Attorney General that met with Ghislaine Maxwell in July. He wants to invite him to a judiciary hearing to get to the bottom of this. My response is we haven't thrown anybody in prison for their criminal activity. If we say they're criminals, let's either say they're criminals and prosecute or stop saying they're criminals, Sheriff. I'm sick of hearing about it with no real action taken. There's been zero action taken against these criminals. Ghislaine just, who gave her that special treatment?
Action taken. Well, she's in prison and got 20 years, and so some action is taken. And Epstein got found guilty, but then all his buddies within the government gave him a sweet deal, even though he was found guilty of child trafficking.
Yeah.
So the corruption raised its crazy, ugly head again at that time. And then he kept doing it, and he got busted again. But I don't believe he committed suicide. And again, that shows government corruption. As I've said before,
well, where's Cash Patel to blow the whistle on that sucker and stand up for the release of the Epstein files?
But again, corruption. Who's gotten away with murder when it really counts? The Clintons.
Anthony Fauci.
The Clintons have. And Fauci. So the corruption just keeps going on and on and on. And I still go back to, comparatively speaking, I'd take Trump any day. Any day. I don't care if he is so egotistical.
That's the problem is that, hey, if we're going to just say, Trump's done a lot of good compared to most, it's true. He's done a lot of good compared to most. It's just a relative discussion. The issue I'm having with President Trump is that all that he's done, for the most part, can be overturned in about 2 seconds because it's not been done properly with appropriate checks and balances.
I was exactly going to say the same thing because, Sam, you and I are in trouble if a Democrat becomes president and they take back over the government, White House.
Yeah, you won't get to play with your dog in prison, buddy. I'll tell you that right now.
No, I won't. And the thing of it is, we're in trouble. This response, they've already promised that they're going to go after the staunch Republicans and constitutionalists, which they've done before.
Amen.
And they're going to really go after the people who caused this problem to the Democrat Party.
If we sat down with Congress, though, we could put things in place that could prevent a lot of that. But see, Congress is just derelict in their duty. They're all sitting at home, twiddling their thumbs, taking a paycheck, and they haven't even codified hardly anything President Trump has done. And that's where the big, problem in my mind is. Now, President Trump did issue preemptive pardons for Rudy Giuliani, former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, our dear friend Sidney Powell, and and, of course, Attorney John Eastman. I think those pardons are good and justified. According to CNN and the New York Times, they say this action only covers the federal crimes, though, and none of the individuals pardoned actually face federal charges. So it's symbolic in many ways. The pardons aim to address grievances from the aftermath of the 2020 presidential election. And they say these pardons do not protect from state prosecutions, etc. I want to work more on getting Tina Peters out of prison. Of course, hers aren't federal crimes either. But we could bring a lot more authority to bear and a lot more effort to bear on that if we spent our time on it. But see, we're too busy going to football games and shutting down government, right?
Yeah, they could do a lot on that.
And I encourage them to do so. President Trump also pardoned somebody else that I'm going to tell you that I think is great news. I'll give you the details right after the pause. Sheriff Richard Mack, Sam Bushman. We're talking hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use right here on Liberty Roundtable Live.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
Experience the untamed spirit of the American West with Range Magazine. Each issue is a visual journey featuring award-winning photography and compelling stories that capture the heart of ranching and rural life. Stay informed on the challenges and triumphs of those who live and work on the land. Subscribe today and receive quarterly editions delivered to your doorstep, and join a community that cherishes the enduring legacy of the Western frontier. Visit rangemagazine.com to subscribe.
Scott Bradley here. Most Americans are painfully aware that the nation is on the wrong track and in dire straits. Unfortunately, most political pundits only nibble around the edges when they claim to address the issues. Even worse, many of the so-called solutions are simply rewarmed servings of what got us into the mess we currently face. And the politicians think we're so gullible and naive that we'll buy their lies that they have reformed, and now understand where they led us astray. Unfortunately, the truth of the matter is that they simply wish to continue to hold power. The solution to America's challenges is found in returning to the timeless principles found in the United States Constitution. My book and lecture series will reawaken in Americans an understanding and love of the principles which made this nation the freest, most prosperous, happiest, and most respected nation on earth. Visit topreservethenation.com and order my book and lectures to begin the restoration of this great nation.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Liberty Roundtable Live, and your co-host for this morning, Sheriff Mack. Thank you, Sam, for putting me on again this morning. And folks, commercial time. This was one of our CSPOA sponsors, Body Align. Folks, let me tell you, these products work. Okay, this is the pain patch. Yesterday, while my wife was doing packing and doing all sorts of different things, she jammed her finger. Last night, it was really bothering her. She wrapped it with these patches. And let me tell you, folks, this morning, she didn't even know she had a problem. These pain patches work. If you have a headache, put them on your forehead and one back on your neck. Take it away. It works. I have 2 on my knee right now because I have bad knees, and I was in pain last night. Not drastic, but to help me go to sleep, I put the 2 patches on my knee. I went right to sleep, woke up this morning, my knee feels great. Folks, Body Align works. Go to bodyalign.com or go to cspoa.org and order right off our website. Body Align patches, they'll ship them right to your house. Folks, if you want to deal with your pain and you want an immediate solution, go to bodyalign.com or cspoa.org. Thank you very much.
And if you don't want drugs, you'd rather have natural health and healing solutions, bodyalign.com. Check it out today.
That's right.
All right, Sheriff Mack.
You,
so President Trump has pardoned a retired New York police officer. His name is Michael McMahon. He was convicted of acting as an unregistered Chinese agent and other charges. He was sentenced in April 2023 to 18 months in prison. The problem is he had to serve for a bunch of that time. They say he was involved in a conspiracy to locate, surveil, and intimidate a Chinese family in New Jersey. He thought it was part of the Operation Chinese Fox Hunt plan. McMahon claimed that he was duped into the scheme by individuals presenting themselves as investigating embezzlement. He was trying to help them. His pardon was influenced by requests from his network, including Representative Mike Lawler of New York and our dear friend Roger Stone stood for Mike McMahon as well. McMahon had been serving a sentence in Michigan, but was transferred to, I guess, a different facility last month. Anyway, the bottom line is that's a good news pardon. We've had Mike McMahon on the radio and TV with us, and we're grateful for Mike and what he's done. The bottom line is people get duped by government officials and think they're on the right side of things, and when it goes south, they're the ones that take the beating. So, you know what? I'm grateful for Trump pardoning him. I want to pardon, a full pardon, not just the for Steve Stockman. We need a full pardon on that. There's a lot of people. I think that Trump needs to give me a preemptive pardon. I don't even know what for yet. I just know when it comes down in the future, they can say Sam's been pardoned, kind of thing. All I'm telling you is this is good news. A lot of these pardons are good news. And Trump needs to keep it up. There's a lot of people that need to be pardoned as well, Sheriff.
Well, I would love to have one, Sam. I would feel so much better about what's coming when Democrats take over Washington, D.C., because they want to add more bullies and criminals to come after us. The IRS, obviously, Biden wanted to add 87,000 new IRS agents. They're going to make a digital dollar, and they're going to add 4 justices to the Supreme Court so that they can completely control that and monopolize political power all across this country. They're the ones who want the dictatorships. They have promoted that. Could anything be more dictatorial than the Democrats to load the Supreme Court to 13
That's a great point, for sure.
And they blame Trump for being a king. The Democrats have been so dictatorial. Their democracy is a complete dictatorship. And so anytime you hear anybody, media, whoever, even sometimes Republicans, who say we got to protect our democracy, that's a lie, and it's a dictatorial term for straightening everybody out in the country and making sure that they back off wanting our constitutional republic restored as intended by our founders.
Amen to
they're
that.
They're all on the opposite side of liberty.
Sad but true. Agreed 100%. Now, Trump criticized Marjorie Taylor Greene, describing her as lost her way after she shifted her criticism towards him on TV. He responded to Greene's criticism regarding his focus on foreign policy, particularly after hosting Syrian President, I don't know how to say this, Ahmed al-Sharad, whatever it is. On the same day, Greene expressed her dissatisfaction on X, advocating for more attention on domestic policies. I agree with that. Greene has also criticized the GOP in general and the leadership, primarily Speaker Mike Johnson, for not reforming the Affordable Care Act. See, I agree with Greene on these things. Despite her stepping back from running for Georgia governor in 2026 and saying that she's not going to be running for president in 28, she's kind of said, I'm focused on my district. I think that's good. But again, why attack Greene, though? Why not acknowledge her criticism and say, you know what, Ms. Greene and nation, I want to focus on domestic events, but Congress has stymied me at every step of the way. Look at all that I've accomplished by executive order. I'm sorry I've had to do it by executive order, but Congress isn't doing their job. Johnson, get back in the D.C. area, take care of business. Why attack Greene? Why not acknowledge that we do need to focus on domestic issues? We do need to focus on the GOP leadership and Mike Johnson and criticize them. But see, now we're going to attack Greene and defend Mike Johnson? Not even bring up a word about Mike. I don't understand it. Why attack the conservatives that are, I'm bringing the same common sense to the table, Marjorie Taylor Greene is, and that Massey is, and that Rand Paul and even Ron Paul is bringing up, hey, you've got to get Congress in the game if you want your agenda to stick, to last, President Trump. You've just got to, and you're running out of time. Right now, the the Republicans, they don't have hardly anything to run on for 2026. They really don't. What have they accomplished? Trump's accomplished a lot. Congress has accomplished virtually nothing. Right.
But yeah, right. But I believe it should be harder for Democrats to say, yes, we want to go back to the Democrat policies of open borders.
Oh, they don't need to say any of that. All they need to say is the Republicans failed. All they need to say is the Republicans failed. They don't even have to have a plan for 26 anymore.
No, exactly. No, very true.
Okay, and so I don't think we should be attacking Green at all. No, now, Christine Pelosi announced her candidacy. Yeah. She's not running for her mom's office. She wants a candidacy for the California State Senate. And she says she's not going to go for her mom's congressional seat. In her announcement, Christine Pelosi said she wants to focus on women's rights and consumer rights. And Nancy Pelosi, of course, said she's not going to run next term. And Christine emphasized her experience in courtrooms. And she says she wants to represent San Francisco in Sacramento. And other Democrats are now vying for Nancy Pelosi's seat. It's kind of a big old to-do, too. Just imagine Nancy passing the baton to Christine.
I got to ask Christine then. So you're going to defend women's rights and you're going to kick transgenders out of boys' bathrooms and out of women's sports?
No.
Wow.
No.
I want to see that.
You've got it all wrong. You're a terrorist. You belong in prison for saying that. What do you think? I mean, how dare you? So
sorry.
Christine Pelosi, in my opinion, she's not taking her mom's seat because I don't think she has enough name recognition and or mojo at this point. What she's trying to do is back off, act like she's being, patriotic and everything. And what she really wants to do, though, is just get a foothold. But if you're not very careful, it'll be a disaster because she'll get power. Other Democrats are vying for Nancy Pelosi's seat right now. But at the end of the day, Christine has worked as a prosecutor, right, in San Francisco, and she's also worked on the Democratic National Committee. So the Good Old Boy Network is gearing her up for greater office over time, Sheriff.
That's all we need is another liberal attorney getting elected in California. But
she's much more intelligent than Kamala, so be careful with this one.
Yeah. Well, Congressman Grijalva died several months ago, and his daughter was elected to his spot in the United States Congress. So I thought, Christine, go ahead and do it. You'd probably get elected. But Nancy Pelosi is probably the biggest joke and most corrupt Democrat.
Well, why aren't we going to prosecute her and throw her in jail then?
Yeah. Well.
See, we're not really throwing anybody in jail, and even the ones that we're throwing in jail, we're giving special privilege to. I mean, why does Ghislaine Maxwell have special privilege in jail?
We're going after Comey and Letitia.
We say we are, but I don't really see it. It's so slow that they'll lose before they can prosecute, and it'll be DOA.
Yeah. It's not nearly what it should be, and most of the corrupt politicians get away with it, and they are emboldened by nothing happening to them. And we really need to move Pam Bondi to really focus on the people who are really destroying our country. And
well, you wonder if Pam Bondi is actually the problem.
Yeah, well, she certainly has been at times.
All right, this is going to be the kickoff headline for the next hour, by the way. Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett speculated on, quote, demanding democracy. That's a show, by the way, that the Republicans now might use the election voting machines to commit election fraud for the midterms.
No, there's no such thing as election fraud.
Roger that. All right, I'm just telling you, we're going to talk about it. Sam Bushman, the good Sheriff Richard Mack. CSPOA.org is the website. Become a member today and help us with solutions for America, will you please? Liberty Roundtable Live is syndicated by the Loving Liberty Networks, lovingliberty.net. Spread the word, share the love, and God save the Republic of the United States of America.